All right, for more on the revival of Detroit, I'm joined by Maureen Krauss. She's Detroit Regional Chamber's Senior Advisor of Economic Development. Maureen, thanks for joining us. Let's get straight into it. It's been just over a year since Detroit emerged from bankruptcy. How is the city's economic recovery going?
Well, it's been very steady, and the trend lines are all pointing positively. We know there's still work to do. The neighborhoods need work. But with the job growth and the private sector investment in the city over the past several years, it's been really amazingly quick how the recovery is grabbing hold and going forward.
Well, Detroit is out of bankruptcy now, but Maureen, what safeguards are there in place to keep things from sliding back?
So the structure that was put together through bankruptcy has really taken away some of the long-term debt that was a huge burden on the city. That, and I think really the reinvestment in the city that we've seen occurring over the past several years will help to strengthen the tax base. I also think when you look at, and you referred to it in the earlier piece, the repurposing of so many of the older structures, the older buildings. Virtually every building in downtown and midtown Detroit right now is either occupied or has been purchased and is under some sort of renovation or repurposing. That will really strengthen the core of growth that will then move out to the neighborhoods.
Well, Maureen, as you know, GM and Chrysler have repaid their bailouts. Now, would you say that the auto industry is back to full strength in Detroit?
It has come roaring back. It really exceeded our expectations. The auto industry alone has invested billions of dollars in the city and the surrounding region in just the past 3 years. That, in addition to, of course, more people working, and that really trickles down to the supply chain in our region, has really helped to make coming out of bankruptcy much easier than anyone anticipated.
Well, you know, Maureen, Detroit was always known as the Motor City. We've just emphasized the auto industry's comeback. But Detroit seems to have really reshaped itself in other ways. What are some of the city's other sources of revenue now?
So when you look at, the history of the auto industry, it's really a foundation in strength for entrepreneurship, creativity, and innovation. And that is one of the, I think, sort of untold secrets about the city when you look at growth in the creative industries, whether it's music or fashion or art. There's a really strong base of that growth supported by organizations, like the Detroit Creative Corridor, and there's a strong infrastructure to support the growth. And I think what's really key is that creative types, entrepreneurs can come in. The cost basis is still extraordinarily competitive compared to other parts of the country and the world. And so if you're a chef and you want to start a restaurant, or if you're an artist and you want to open up a boutique, you can do that much quicker with a lower cost basis in Detroit.
Definitely some opportunities there for entrepreneurs. But in terms of the city and in terms of the city borrowing, given the bankruptcy and the big hit to bondholders, where does Detroit stand now with obtaining financing on the credit markets?
So that has improved, of course, through bankruptcy. But I think the real push in the next several years is only to invest in what can be afforded by the city and to not go overboard and, too much borrowing. I think the private investment in the city has really been the story the past few years. And it's not just private investment in businesses and structures, buildings, but it really is private investment in things like supporting public services, whether it's the Detroit Institute of Arts or new ambulances for the EMS services in the city. The private investment has really helped to get the city over this hump so that it will be in a couple of years with increased tax revenue and increased investment able to take on debt to do things that all cities need to spend money on to improve their infrastructure and quality of life.
And have you seen any spillover effect? Has the renaissance of Detroit helped any of the surrounding areas?
Absolutely. We know that when you talk about our entire region, which is 5.3 million people, people start with Detroit. And so the reputation of Detroit has certainly taken a hit over the past few years, but it's been amazing to see the interest in what is really happening there. And it has allowed, if bankruptcy had one positive, and I think there have been several, but one positive, it's allowed us to tell our own story to the world. And we've done that to talk about our assets and the opportunities there. Several years ago, we weren't really part of that story. So we've been able to talk to the world about what really encompasses, I think, the culture and the opportunities that there are in the city. So we've been really grateful for that opportunity, and hopefully we encourage people to come and take a look for themselves.
Certainly a great comeback story, Maureen. What would you say is Detroit's biggest challenge ahead?
Well, I think, and this is not unique to Detroit, but it's something that is front and center in Detroit, and that is getting our public school system to be able to produce the workforce that is needed in the future for the companies that are growing. So there is a great deal of effort through my organization, the Detroit Regional Chamber, and many, many people to really focus going forward on getting the public schools at a point where the workforce coming out of it can move right into the job opportunities that will be available, that are available now and will be available in the next few years.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Maureen Krauss, Detroit's
You're
Regional
welcome.
Chamber's Senior Advisor of Economic Development.